Hello and welcome to my channel. I am ZodiacBandit, and today we're recapping episode 32 of Campaign 3 of Critical Role. 32 episodes is nuts. It does not feel like it's been this long. It's felt really quick. But yeah, let's get right into the episode. Why don't we? So, the episode starts, and they're on their crawlers making their way back to Bassaris, and Matt makes them roll to see if there's going to be any encounters on the way, and there isn't. They return to Bassaris without any issue. Birdie stops her crawler and lets everyone who's on it get off, and then says she's going to head out as she doesn't believe you and the other assassins from the Unseelie Court are truly going to live up to their words, as she is not very trusting of them. So she's going to grab a bit of food before she heads out, but not before Imogen throws some shade about disappearing once more. Fern asks for a hug from her mother, and then after that, Birdie says she's going to get a meal from the Taste of Teldore, because she's right here, might as well. Lana asks Fern how she's doing, and Fern says she's okay with all this, as they're not going to disappear again. The party talk about either seeing Dancer or going straight to the Paragon's call. Most of the party is worried about how FCG will act when they see Dancer. FCG wants to take their buzzsaw off before they see Dancer, as maybe that'll relieve some tension. They talk about who is the nicest member of the party to go talk to Dancer first, as they have now firmly decided they're going to go speak to Dancer. The party want to reach out to Dancer as well. Chetney jokes about telling Dancer that the party has captured FCG. FCG says they don't have feelings. The whole party points out that that's some bullshit, as they definitely have feelings, as they are feeling sadness and remorse and regret about all the things that FCG doesn't even know that they did. Orem says that the FCG being tied up plan is actually a good idea, specifically for Dancer's security and, state of mind, as that will make them feel safe. So they reach out to Dancer saying that they have her automaton and want to talk before destroying it. Dancer tells them she's curious about what automaton they are talking about specifically, and to meet her at the Revel and Break Inn, which is a bar in the undercarriage, which is very close to where they last had a rest here in Bassaris before racing off with Birdie. The party goes there and they tie up FCG, and most of the party stay outside, but Orem and Imogen go in. Chetney goes to the back of the bar as to not have Dancer escape and run away without them knowing. They go in and see Dancer at a table alone. She is a half orc, half elf, which is, seems to be a running trend in Marquette. She has dark hair and a star tattoo on her cheek, and one arm is metal with clockwork elements, but it is imperfect and jerks around as she tries to move it, but it still gets the job done as an arm, better than having absolutely nothing. Orem and Imogen sit with Dancer. Dancer thinks she knows which automaton they're talking about. Imogen asks if Dancer made FCG, to which Dancer says no, she bought them. And then, at this moment, Imogen casts Detect Thoughts on Dancer, just so whenever she thinks of something, Imogen can see it. Just surface level. I don't believe she probed deeper in this moment. They ask who she got FCG from, and Dancer says that it was a masked merchant that came through once, and that was the only time they'd ever dealt with this masked merchant. This masked merchant is someone who seems to go into the Room Dam Desert. God, I'm retarded. Sorry. God, I'm stupid. My bad. I gotta get that word out of my lexicon. And that this is where they likely found FCG. It goes on to explain that when she got them, they were offline, and she had to do a bit of rewiring to get them online, but she added absolutely nothing to FCG. Orem shows Dancer the buzzsaw, and there is a moment of fear from Dancer, and then moments of thinking of good times from her times with FCG, and then back and forth and back and forth. They ask Dancer if FCG ever went berserk on her, to which Dancer points to her arm and says her friends are all gone because of FCG. At this point, they tell Dancer that they aren't looking to destroy FCG, but they want to help them and keep them safe, and that they are currently outside and wish to talk to her. Dancer takes a sip from her drink and then gets up and then takes a few more sips and then goes outside with the buzzsaw in hand. She steps outside and FCG sees her for the first time in a while. They have a little bit of small talk between the two of them before they get into the real stuff. FCG says Dancer owns them and will go with Dancer if she wishes, and promises not to hurt her this time, but Dancer says that is a promise that can't be kept. Dancer says FCG was helpful to her, but FCG also took a lot of things from her, and she can't look past that. FCG asks Dancer if anything was added to them by her, and Dancer says nothing was added. FCG came out cheery and wanting to help others from the jump when she got them working. The only thing that seemed to be added or mimicked was the way that FCG talks. It is very much like the way Dancer speaks. FCG asks what it will take to get forgiveness from Dancer, and Dancer says, figure out what's going on with them first before we can even talk about that sort of situation. FCG doesn't remember what happened and wants to know. Dancer says they killed the whole crew after coming out of the mine. Some creatures followed them, they fought them off, and then FCG was helping everyone, get better, and then they snapped for seemingly no reason. Dancer doesn't know why she survived, but as long as FCG is like this and doesn't know what's wrong with them, Dancer wants to stay away, as they are a ticking time bomb. FCG wants to know if the party has a way to turn them off if this ever happens again. Dancer says there is a runic cable that is glowing, and this will do the trick, but if they do this, it will take a lot to fix them. Dancer tosses the saw back at FCG and says, your fate is with the gods, and then walks back inside. After this, the party want to talk to Joe, as he might have some more insight. Imogen suggests that maybe Dancer connected one of the wires wrong, and this is why FCG has got this little problem. They make their way to Joe's shop and see him being paid by someone else. FCG immediately asks if Joe knows the person Dancer bought them from. Joe says they only came through town 3 times and was a tall, masculine person and wore a metal mask and had dark robes and went by the name D. They made many D's nuts jokes over the next couple minutes at this point, and I had to talk about it because, they're friggin' hilarious. Joe also says that the desert is where most of, the Aeorian stuff comes from, and that a handful of traders go in and out from there. They ask about the runic cable, to which Joe explains that it's called a lay tether and is the same as the power sources within his shop. Imogen asks if it could have been messed up a bit. Joe says if that happened, the automaton would likely stop working or would just explode, and suggests that he can take a look, as he is the local expert, and the only other places that you could probably go around is Eos and Jushar, which are a little far away compared to Joe. FCG agrees to this, so Joe sets up FCG in his lift so he can get a better angle at things, and opens up FCG's chest. Inside of FCG is a holding unit, where all of the stuff goes that they eat, or all the metal and the liquids they've been pouring into poor FCG. And this is able to be moved to, show the cables behind it, and some runes all throughout their body. FCG casts a spell, and the runes all light up. FCG then casts a damaging spell, to which the runes light up in a different order. This prompts Joe to say that they are filled with magic, but nothing seems to be wrong with any of the wiring. Fern asks if the problem could be in their head, Joe can't find an opening, a hinge, or anything to open FCG's head to even take a look. Fern tries the eyes, as that's where the color change happens when he goes evil, and maybe it's connected there, but she can't get it out. They explain to Joe that FCG can snap and change at a moment's notice if, too many things start to stack up on them. Joe explains that that's terrible and is possible, but he doesn't necessarily know. However, he then goes into a notebook and tells the party of something known as the Care and Culling, or the Karen Calling, a terrible affiliation that all automatons have to be Karens. Now, Care and Culling, a event where a bunch of Aoritons that were sent to politicians killed them all after being gifted to them to be helpful at first, and this led to most places not taking stuff or trading with Aor anymore. Imogen wants to know what D looks like, so she asks if she can read Joe's mind, to which he agrees. Imogen, looking into Joe's mind, sees a merchant come into town on a massive crawler. This is D with his metal mask that looks like Dr. Doom. D keeps a distance from people as they trade their stuff with the people around. After Joe is done trading with D, D moves further into town. Imogen can't see anything to tell what kind of race D would be. The party, at this point, need to go to the Paragon's call, as there's not much more information they can get from Joe. So they get ready to leave. The party asks Joe if they need to pay him for any of the stuff that he performed today. He says no, he was just happy to take a look at FCG, and that it was a true honor to look, as it is a totally different thing than anything he's ever worked on. On the way to the seat of disdain, the party talk about if Odahan will know Imogen, and, if they see her, this could be a problem. So they try to get Imogen to use some wild magic to change her appearance like before, maybe become bald or turn blue once more. But after doing this, she just levitates. The spell Levitate was cast on top of the spell she used before. They go to the seat of disdain, where they call to the guards and tell them who they are, and the guards open the door and let them in. They go into the courtyard, and Rutanish is happy to see them, and says they will be shown their quarters, and will be given uniforms, and will be shown around the place. Rutanish also says that they will get orders soon to prove themselves, as, they need to prove themselves after the display. And they seem to be local celebrities around here, as many people recognize them from the death race. They're shown their room and meet a Minotaur named Rockmud, who is very much like Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy. They take everything literal. All the jokes, everything, it's all literal to him, and he answers swiftly and bluntly. He shows them the rest of the fort, and the rest of the fort that they are allowed in, and this is where they also learn one of the many rules of the Paragon's Call, which is not to ask too many questions. And Ashton kind of says, yeah, he's just showing them the ropes. They get weapons from him, mainly a dagger for Imogen as she lost hers recently, and a small kunai knife for Mister. After this, they go up to a roof and take a look around and see a storm coming. And they ask a few more questions, but at this point, Rockman is kind of done, and he pushes them back to the courtyard, and at this point, they see how close this sandstorm is, and a handful of the members are loading up some crates into a mammoth crawler. Ashton tries to help, and is told by Rutanish that taking initiative is good in combat, or in battle, but outside, it's better to wait to be told what to do before doing something, and then act as good as you can. Rutanish then orders them to help load the crates. At this point, only the strong members, like the wizardy types, the magic types, don't typically help, which pisses off some of the members of the Paragon's Call. The crates have building materials in them mostly, but some of them are labeled as Treshy, and some of them have a symbol on it that most of the party don't recognize. Or, well, the only two people that see this symbol are Chetney and Fern. But these boxes, Ashton notes, some of them are the same size and shape as what they're trying to steal, what he was trying to steal from the Hexam mansion. Only Fern sees the symbol on some of these, and Chetney. The members that were loading the crawler before stopped so that the new guys can do something before the sandstorm hits, and because they're really tired. They finish up, and Rutanish tells them to relax, as they will be given new orders tomorrow if the sandstorm lifts, I guess. They return to their room, and now they want to find Treshy. FCG casts locate creature and finds him below in the basement. Chetney turns invisible and is going to sneak down there to find him. Laudna wants to go get Treshy's old ring so they can put it on the mammoth crawler and potentially track it. Laudna and Ashton go into the storm to get the ring using Ashton's knowledge of the city and the globe tracker. They get their way to the pawn shop with no problems. They talk a bit, they do some small talk in this section here, which honestly, for the most part, I don't think I need to talk about. It was not overly important. But they end up buying the ring. It was like 350 gold, which is madness. I feel like they got a little ripped off, but Ashton couldn't talk themselves out of that price. The important talk comes after when they leave. Ashton says that they think Laudna is hiding things and is broken, much like themselves. Unlike Imogen and FCG, who can be fixed, Ashton believes that Laudna is okay with the idea of being broken, like themselves. Laudna agrees and says that she can't really deal with her past like the others can, as it's always with her, not it being something that can be let go easily. Ashton says that he likes her when she talks serious, and Laudna says that she likes them too. After this talk, they make their way back to the seat of disdain. During this time, Chetney found the entrance to the basement, which is a locked grate. He picks the lock barely, by Matt's own words, and then makes his way down. He finds 6 prison cells and sees Treshy in one of them. There are no guards currently, but he thinks this is too easy and looks down the other hallway and sees guards walking towards him, steps aside. They speak to Treshy and see if he needs anything, to which he responds that he's reading and wants to be left alone. They then take positions down another hallway. One continues walking and the other kind of has an eye on the hallway they just came from and Treshy's prison cell. Chetney walks down the hallway they came from, as he is still invisible, and sees 2 doors, one really large one, and there is a guard at a table with a chain hanging from the ceiling that looks like it can be pulled for some reason. Chetney thinks about, if he's able to kill these guards and get Treshy out, but doesn't think it's really possible. He goes back and locks the lock on his way out. The party think about what to do now. That they have all this information, a ring that can track. Are they going to wait for the crawler to leave and track it and then attack it on the outside of the city? Or are they going to use the sandstorm as cover so they can go get Treshy now and make their way out? Fern tells the whole party about the box with the symbol on it. Some members of the party know it to be the Cerberus Assembly symbol, which is good. It's always nice to bring back the Cerberus Assembly, the good villains. At this point, they question if Odahan is working with the Cerberus Assembly, which I feel like is probably common knowledge, or at least the fact that she's working with one of the most prominent members, so that's probably a logical conclusion. Ashton tells them that the crates that they saw or that they were loading up were the ones that he was after when they attacked when they were trying to raid the Hexam house. And that they only know of a handful of people who would know what's actually inside those crates. As they're talking, voices begin to rise, and they are called to fight, and Chetney is now excited. They go to the courtyard, and in the middle of the sandstorm, they see flashes, and a Paragon's Call member is sent flying and lands down in front of them with burns on his shoulder. And they say They're after the load. We must defend it. Ashton is now excited as this opens up a whole new list of possibilities for things they can do during this attack. More about, not necessarily about defending it, but also about going to get Treshy, maybe even having an opportunity to plant the ring to track the thing. So now they seem to be very excited about this combat as well. But this is where the episode ends, as Matt is a massive tease. So, long episode. This is 5 hours. Honestly, super long. And I think a portion of that, there was one moment, and I skipped over in this. I didn't skip over it, I actually mentioned it, where Laudna and Ashen goes, and they have some of the, I want to say, some of the strangest roleplay as they talk to a bunch of pawn shop owners and have small talk with each other and them. And I get heavy roleplay, but sometimes it's not needed. And that felt like it. A little unneeded. Even other players and, pointed out, and even Matt had a laugh at it. So it's realistically whatever. In their game, fuck, screw me, I don't care. Or they don't care what I think. But it was a little weird. They could have just went in, looked around for a second, bought the ring, left. Which is ultimately what they did. They just added, I don't know, it felt like 10 minutes of extra small talk. So that's the only negative thing about this episode. The rest was great. I really enjoyed everything we learned about FCG and Dancer. Really enjoyed learning about what Joe knew about, Aor. I really enjoyed learning about this D figure. I'm very excited. I enjoyed their interactions in the Paragon's call itself. And then afterwards, I'm excited to see what this fight is going to bring at the start of the next episode. So, yeah, very excited for next week. Looking forward to that. And, yeah, I'll see you guys Tuesday. Peace.